Hi, and welcome to the second class in our 7-week series of Yoga and the Art of Aging. I'm Sasha, this is Eleanor, and this is Elle, here to help me today with this class. Hip degeneration and hip replacements is on the increase in the Western world. It is something that happens with aging, and the following class is going to help cultivate healthier hips. The poses will increase flexibility in the hip joints as well as strength and help encourage fresh blood flow, oxygen and nutrients to the hips. So we will begin by centering ourselves and focusing in on our breath. So let's unfold our legs and roll slowly down our spine. And today, as we lie down, we'll come into Baddha Konasana. So rolling down the spine and soles of the feet together, knees apart, arms slightly away from the body, palms facing up towards the sky. So taking this time now to focus in on our breath, inhaling through our nose and exhaling through our nose. Always in yoga, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Long, smooth and even breaths. So with our inhalations, just making sure that we're filling the abdomen first, into the middle of the rib cage, and then onto the upper rib cage, and on the exhalation, upper rib cage softening, lower rib cage softening, and finally the abdomen. So just taking the time now to be aware of the present moment, forgetting about the past, forgetting about what's happened before you came onto your mat, and just being here with your breath. As you can see, Eleanor has a blanket underneath her head. If you have neck issues, you may find this more comfortable, and Al's just laying flat on his mat, which is fine too. And when we're ready, inhaling our right arm above our head, rolling over to our right side, and come to standing at the front of our mat into Tadasana, mountain pose. Standing in Tadasana with the feet nice and broad, the weight even between the feet, drawing the energy up through the legs, pelvic floor engaged, drawing the side waist in towards the spine and the skin on either side of the navel in towards the belly button. Have the sternum lifted and the shoulders soft down the spine, sides of the neck long, crown of the head moving up towards the sky as the feet root down into the earth. Coming into our warm-up and inhaling the arms up above the head. And exhale, Utkatasana. Keeping the tailbone long. And Uttanasana. And stepping the right leg back to a nice big lunge. And inhale the arms all the way up to Warrior One. Keeping the back leg nice and straight. And exhaling the arms down. And stepping back to plank. And we'll just take a couple of breaths here. So you can see with Eleanor, she's doing the half plank. So if you're finding the full plank, which is the version that Al's doing, a little bit more challenging. So for women that don't have great core strength, this is always a good option. And for people who have better core strength, the full plank with the tailbone moving down towards the heels. And bending the knees, coming back to Adho Mukha Virasana, taking the buttocks back to the heels, keeping the arms nice and straight and the palms nice and broad. Inhale up to upward facing dog. Using the core muscles again to support you in your upward facing dog, and exhale back to downward facing dog. So with downward facing dog, it's really important that we build the pose from the base, which in this pose it's the hands. So spreading and broadening the hands, the spaces in between the fingers even. Arms nice and straight. That's great. And the skin from the base of the neck out to the shoulders, nice and broad. So Eleanor, can you just shrug your shoulders up? So this is often what happens with beginners. We have the shoulders hard and up towards the ears. So it's really important that you keep the shoulders nice and broad. And inhaling the right leg forward, stepping the right foot in between the hands. Great. And inhaling the arms up above the head. And exhaling, coming forward, stepping forward to Uttanasana. And Utkatasana. And pressing through the heels. Inhaling, coming up to Tadasana with the hands in prayer position. Inhale, exhale here. And again, inhaling the arms up above the head. And exhale, Utkatasana. Utkatasana, building strength in the legs. And Uttanasana. And lunging the left leg back. Keeping the leg nice and straight. Inhaling the arms, reaching them up towards the sky. Warrior one. And exhale, hands down onto the mat and stepping back to plank. Taking a couple of breaths here. So this pose here increases the strength in our core. Make sure that you keep the breath nice and smooth and even, and that it's not catching in the more challenging poses. And bending the knees, coming back to Adho Mukha Virasana. And inhale to upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Opening up the shoulders here. And exhale back to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And holding this for 5 breaths, keeping the breaths long, smooth and even. So Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, is great for stretching out the whole body, often done at the beginning of classes. This keeps the shoulders open and strong, stretches out the backs of the legs, helps to encourage the core muscles to work. And stepping the left leg forward to the hands, inhaling the arms up, warrior one. And exhale, hands down, stepping forward to Uttanasana, Utkatasana. Pressing through the heels, Urdhva Hastasana, and hands into prayer position. Inhale, exhale here. 2 more to go. And inhaling the arms up above the head, reaching all the way up, keeping the shoulders down the spine as you do this. Utkatasana. Uttanasana, stretching out the back of the legs. Stepping the right leg back and inhaling the arms up above the head, warrior one, flowing with the breath. So if you want to flow more with the breath than what we're doing, that's fine. Exhale down, stepping back to plank, holding for a couple of breaths here, working the core, engaging the core and strengthening. So muscles on either side of the spine, moving in towards the spine, tailbone long, abdomen moving towards the spine. Adho Mukha Virasana, buttocks back to heels. Inhale, coming forward, upward facing dog. And exhale, coming back, downward facing dog. Long, smooth, and even breaths. The shoulders in downward facing dog always move up towards the sacrum. The sit bones, which are those bony bones in your bottom that you can feel when you're sitting down, they move directly up towards the sky. The legs, the feet are hip width apart, and the legs are as straight as you possibly can, stretching out the back of the legs, warming up the hamstrings. Stepping the right leg forward into lunge, inhaling. Stabilize here, lengthen the back leg, inhale the arms up above the head, warrior one. Exhaling the hands down. Come to stepping into Uttanasana, Utkatasana. Powerful pose, strengthening the legs, press through the heels, stand up, reach up towards the sky, Tadasana, and hands back to prayer. Inhale, exhale here. Last one. Inhaling the arms up above the head. And exhale, Utkatasana. Inhale, Uttanasana. Crown of the head to the floor, sit bones to the sky. Stepping the left leg back this time. Inhaling the arms up above the head. Warrior one. Exhaling the hands down. Stepping back to plank. Half plank or full plank. Strengthening the core. Have the heels energizing back to the backs of your mats and the crown of the head energizing to the front of your mat, feeling the whole body lengthening. Adho Mukha Virasana, taking the buttocks back to the heels. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Using your core muscles here, and back to downward facing dog. In downward dog, the feet are hip width apart and the feet are broad and spread as they are in Tadasana, making sure the weight's even in the right as well as the left foot. The legs are nice and straight, lifted, sit bones lifting up towards the sky. Long, smooth and even breaths. Lunging the left leg forward in between the hands. Inhaling the arms up above the head. Exhaling, hands down. Stepping the right leg to the left, Uttanasana and Utkatasana. Pressing through the heels, coming up to standing, and Tadasana, hands in prayer position. Coming to stand in the middle of our mats in Tadasana. Vrksasana, tree pose on the right side. If you're finding that you're having difficulty balancing, you can bring the leg just down by the ankle like Eleanor, or you can have the leg up towards the top of the thigh. When you're ready, inhaling the arms up above your head. When and if you're ready. So some of you may find it too challenging, finding yourself wobbling too much with the arms up above the head. Keep the breath long, smooth and even. Shoulders down the spine, standing tall like a tree. Bringing the right leg down to Tadasana, hands back down to prayer position. Left side. When and if you're ready, inhaling the arms up above the head. As with all standing poses, this pose creates Poise and calmness centers the mind, strengthens the legs, and encourages hip flexibility. Bringing the hands back down to prayer, stepping the left leg down to Tadasana. Bending the knees, crossing the arms in front. We're going to jump the legs wide. Again, if you've got ankle, knee, hip problems, lower back problems, you're menstruating, or if you're pregnant, just step the feet wide. So Eleanor, can you demonstrate with the stepping the feet wide, and Ella and myself will do a nice big jump. So taking the feet nice and as wide as you can. Turning the right foot out and the left foot in slightly. Warrior two, bending the right leg. So if you want to challenge yourself more, come deep down into the pose. And if you're just a beginner, you can come up a little bit. So make sure the right knee is in line with the second toe and that the right knee's not coming forward over the ankle, as this puts too much strain on the knee joint. Ensure that you're not leaning too far over into the pose with the body and that the spine stacks straight above the pelvis. Looking over the right arm, Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2, long, smooth and even breaths. And now we'll come into Trikonasana from here, so just straightening the right leg and coming over to Trikonasana. Triangle pose. Having the hand onto the shin. The hand can just come to where is comfortable. So for some of you, it might be up the top of the shin or even above the knee, and that's fine. And then for those of you who want to work the core more, you just take the hand off the shin and have the palm facing the front. So this will naturally engage the core muscles more. Make sure that the right hip is coming underneath you. You should feel in this pose a slight stretch down the right inner groin. Looking up to the top arm unless you have neck problems, and then you can just look straight forward to the camera. Pajvakonasana, so bending the right leg, elbow onto knee or hand onto the floor, and reaching the top arm up and over. Looking underneath the armpit. Side angle pose. So again, really make sure that you bring this right hip forward so that you can feel the stretch here, lengthening the inner thigh to the inner knee. Tailbone long, tucking the tailbone underneath you and drawing the skin from the pubic bone up towards the navel. Reaching the fingertips away, long, smooth and even breaths. From here, we're going to come into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. Al's going to demonstrate with the chair. So coming up into half moon pose, either hand onto a chair. If you're a complete beginner, this is a good option. Hand onto chair. Keep the top hand on the hip for a couple of breaths until you've got your balance, and then when you're ready, inhaling the left arm up. And then if you can, looking up to the top arm. So for some of you this might be challenging, looking up to the top arm, so looking straight ahead is fine. Long, smooth and even breaths. Again, keep the tailbone underneath you and make sure the leg is in line. Just bring the leg forward a little bit, Eleanor. Shoulders down the spine, stretching from fingertip to fingertip. And bending the supporting leg, reaching back with the back leg, coming into Pajvakonasana again. From Pajvakonasana, coming forward into Pasarita Padottanasana. So this is a more restful pose. The legs are nice and wide here. Sit bones up towards the sky, crown of the head to the mats. So you can see Al's got his back straight, so the hands are underneath the wrists. So if you're a little bit more tight in the hamstrings, this is a really good option. And then if you like Eleanor a little bit more open in the hamstrings, then you walk the hands back, elbows in, and the crown of the head moves towards the mat. And gently rolling up through the spine. If you suffer from low blood pressure, just take this really slowly, making sure that you bring the head up last to stop any dizziness. Repeating the sequence on the left side. So turning the left foot out, right foot in. Inhale the arms up to the side, keeping the shoulders down the spine. Bending the left leg, warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. So this pose is great for opening the hips and building strength and stability into the legs and the outer hips. Looking over the left arm. Long, smooth and even breaths. Draw the left hip underneath you. Body stacking directly above the pelvis. Coming into Trikonasana now, straightening the left leg. Looking up to the top arm unless you have neck issues. Make sure it's common in this pose that this top arm flies back behind you. So make sure that it's stacking, the shoulders are stacking one on top of the other. Also common in beginners is that this arm comes forward. So this will help, this top arm will help gauge which level the body is at. So you want to imagine that you're between two sheets of glass, that you're not leaning forward and that you're not leaning back. Coming in now into Pajvakonasana. Bending the left leg again, making sure that the knees in line with the second toe so that it's not coming too far forward and it's not coming over the ankle. Inhaling the top arm up. So you can see with Eleanor, if you're a little bit tighter in the hips, you bring the elbow onto the knee. And if you're a little bit more open in the hips, then hand onto the floor like L. This pose also increases flexibility in the hips, as well as building up strength in the legs and the hips. And coming into half moon pose. So again, L will demonstrate with the chair. And Eleanor hand onto the floor. When and if you're ready, breathing the top arm up, inhaling the top arm up, finding spaciousness in the pose. So crown of the head moving towards the front of the mat, heel moving to the back of the mat, reaching the hands fingertips to fingertips, long, smooth and even breaths. This pose, half moon pose, is fantastic for women if you're pregnant and if you're menstruating, and helps regulate the menstrual flow. When we're ready, bending the supporting leg, reaching back with the top leg. Coming forward to Pasarita Padottanasana. Again, if you're tighter in the hamstrings, having the hands underneath the shoulders. Downward dog hands, so the hands are nice and broad with the fingertips pointing towards the front of your mat. And if you're more open in the hamstrings, again like Eleanor, just making sure that the elbows aren't splaying out to the side, that they're coming in. That the feet are nice and broad. The breath long, smooth and even. Rolling up through the spine again slowly. Bringing the head up last. Bending the knees, crossing the arms in front and jumping back in or stepping back in like Eleanor. We're going to change our mats around and come to sitting on the floor for some seated postures. Come to sitting into Dandasana, staff pose, so the legs are active just like they were in Tadasana, with the feet spread and broad and the toes all pointing up towards the sky. The legs are nice and active with the leg muscles drawing up, spine nice and straight, vertebrae stacking, shoulders down the spine, crown of the head up towards the sky. We'll come into Janusasana, head to knee pose, so bending the right knee. Inhaling the arms up above the head. And reaching, coming forward. If you can't take hold of the toe comfortably while keeping the spine straight and the shoulders down the spine, then you take a strap and pop it around your foot, a strap or a belt or a dressing gown cord, whatever you have handy. So if you're tighter in the knees, you can have some support underneath the knee, like Eleanor, a rolled up blanket or some cushions. If you're tight in the hamstrings, holding onto the toes, keeping the shoulders down the spine, or the full pose, head to knee pose, taking the head down towards the knee. And inhaling, coming up. Back to Dandasana. Left side. Make sure that the right toes are all pointing up towards the sky. The tendency in this pose is for the leg to become floppy and the toes to roll out to the side. So keep the leg active. The more the quadricep is engaged, the more the hamstrings can lengthen. Coming forward. Again, if you can't reach the toes, take a strap. It's more important to have the spine straight and the shoulders down the spine than holding on to a strap. Or the full pose, head to knee. Inhaling, coming up. Al's going to demonstrate a half vinyasa between our poses. If you're feeling like you have a little bit more energy, so crossing the right leg in front and jumping back. And if you're feeling like you just want to stay in Dandasana, connect up to the breath. So if your energy levels are a little bit low, or you're just a beginner, staying with Dandasana. Coming into Baddha-Konasana, the next pose, bound angle pose. So soles of the feet together, knees apart, holding on to the feet. If you're a little bit tighter in the hips, taking some blankets and giving yourself some height underneath your buttocks, like Eleanor. So shoulders down the spine. Knees towards the floor. Inhaling, lift the chest through, and exhale, coming forward. Again, it's very important to keep the spine straight, so not so important to get the head down onto the floor, more important to keep the spine nice and straight, shoulders down the spine, sides of the neck long, so not reaching the chin forward. Look forward, Al. So this is often something that happens, the chin comes forward. So it's really important to keep the back of the neck long. the front of the throat soft. We talked about that in the last series. The front of the throat is a really good indicator on how soft and peaceful you are in your poses. Long, smooth and even breaths. Baddha Konasana is a great pose for increasing flexibility in the hips. It's also a fantastic pose for regulating the menstrual cycle. Fantastic pose for women who are pregnant. And a great pose for guys to encourage opening in the hip area. Inhaling, coming up. Back to Dandasana, or crossing the left leg in front this time and stepping back for the half vinyasa. So as Al does this, he jumps back, comes down to Chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog, bending the knees and jumping back through. So the half vinyasa just keeps the heat up in the pose and exercises the cardiovascular system a little bit. We're going to come now into Konasana, wide angle pose. So taking the legs a little bit wider. Inhaling the arms up above the head. Reaching forward towards the big toes. If you can't take hold of the big toes comfortably, Eleanor, could you just demonstrate with the hands out in front? So Eleanor can grab hold of the toes comfortably, but if you can't, then just bring the arms out in front, like she's demonstrating now. Shoulders down the spine, spine nice and straight. Breath long, smooth and even. So this pose has similar benefits to Baddha Konasana, increasing flexibility in the hips, fantastic for regulating the menstrual cycle and increasing blood flow to the hip area. This Konasana also helps stretch out the back of the hamstrings. Couple more breaths here, breathing into the pose. Quietly coming up. Bringing the legs back together to Dandasana. Either half vinyasa, crossing the legs in front, jumping back, or sitting, connecting to the breath like Eleanor here in Dandasana. Now that we've opened up the hips a little bit more, we're going to come into Swastikasana, cross-leg pose. Or if you're a little bit more open in the hips, Al will demonstrate Padmasana, lotus pose. So we'll do the right side first. You can see that Eleanor took some more support to put underneath her hips. So if you're a little bit tight, feel free to give yourself lots of support. So the idea is that the knees don't want to be too much higher than the hips, otherwise it can strain into the lower back. When you're ready, hands onto knees. Spine nice and straight. Hip work, increasing your hip flexibility. You can come to Al's place here where he is in Padmasana. So this is, you would have seen lots of photos of Buddhist people meditating in this pose. It's a great pose for being able to support the spine and sit comfortably for hours in this way. When we're ready, interlacing the fingers, pushing the palms in front of you and keeping the shoulders down the spine, inhaling the arms up above the head. Just making sure here when we do this pose, the tendency is for the rib cage to pop out. So you want to keep the rib cage moving back and the diaphragm soft so the breath can continue to move freely through the body. The inner elbows here move in towards one another and the palms face up towards the sky and they're broad and open. Releasing the arms down. Now coming into Gomukhasana, cow face pose. So inhaling the right arm up and left arm folding behind. If you can't reach the fingertips comfortably, you can grab a strap. Ellen has grabbed her one, and I'll help Al with his one. So you take a strap, a belt, a dressing gown cord once again, and as you feel the shoulders opening, you can move the hands towards one another. It's important in this pose to make sure that the right shoulder blade, since we're doing the right side, the right shoulder blade or right scapula moves onto the rib cage, and again that we don't pop the rib cage out, that it stays in nice and soft. Breath long, smooth and even. Releasing this pose now. Bringing the hands onto the knees. Keep the sternum lifted, shoulders down the spine. Inhale and exhale, coming forward. Increasing the stretch into the right hip a little bit more. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the class, these poses here, particularly these last three, are working more deeply into the hips, really encouraging the blood supply, the oxygen and all the nutrients that come with that right into the hip joint, really increasing the healthiness of the hips. And coming back to spine straight, back to Dandasana, stretching the legs out. Changing sides, left leg in front this time. Interlacing the fingers again. This time, when they're interlaced, move them over one so that you come into your knot habit, pushing the palms away and inhaling the arms up above the head. So with Eleanor, you can see she's in Swastikasana, and the right leg here is in a parallel position and the left leg comes in front of that. The ankles are nice and long and the heels are pushing away, so the outer ankles are nice and supported. This helps encourage support through the lower back and the spine. The core muscles are engaged, shoulders are soft, elbows moving in towards one another. And bring the hands down. Gomukhasana, left side. Inhaling the left arm up. I'll help Al with the strap again. So Gomukhasana, cow face pose, is great for increasing the flexibility in our shoulder joints. Slowly with practice over time. Because we're strongly stretching our shoulder joint, we're also, like the hips, encouraging oxygen, blood and nutrients to come in, right into the shoulder joint. Stretching out the armpit, elbow up towards the sky. And releasing, bring the hands back to the knees. Coming forward. Make sure here that the weight is even in both sit bones. So the other bones that you can feel in your buttocks sitting on the floor or sitting on your blanket, the tendency will be to sit into one side more than the other. So really take the time to go inside, internal, and just check that out and have a look and make sure that the weight's even in the right and the left sit bone. So this will help, awareness in this area will help correct imbalances. So often we have imbalances in our pelvis that we're not even aware of. If we become aware of them, we can help correct them and save ourselves from hip and lower back and sacrum problems as we age. Inhaling, coming up. Stretching our legs back out to Dandasana. Long, smooth and even breaths. And let's come into our finishing sequence. So bending the legs and rolling down through the spine, coming to laying on our back. So I'll move these blankets and strap out the way for Eleanor. And bending the knees, so the soles of the feet are on the floor. Not quite time for Shavasana yet, Al. And bring the hands in beside us, so we're going to come into bridge pose. When we're ready, lifting the pelvis off up towards the sky, vertebrae by vertebrae, pressing into the feet. Make sure that the feet here are parallel and hip width apart. So the tendency in this pose is to have the toes out and the heels in towards one another. So you really want to make sure that they are parallel and that the knees aren't coming together, they're in line with the second toe, just like in our standing poses. Moving the pelvis up towards the sky, tailbone up towards the sky. Reach the fingertips strongly down towards the heels to encourage the shoulders to move down the spine. The front of the throat is soft, the breath is soft. Just holding here for a few more breaths. Skin on the forehead is nice and broad. So this pose also helps to encourage and balance out the thyroid gland, which helps with our energy levels. When we're ready, rolling down through the spine. And drawing the knees into the chest, have the arms out to the side, palms facing up towards the sky. We'll just come into a twist, bring the knees to the right side. Making sure that the knees are stacking one on top of the other, so the tendency is for the top knee to move back, making sure the knees are stacking one on top of the other. And that the feet are active, Tadasana feet, so not letting the body go to sleep too much yet, and bring the knees back up towards the sky. Left side. Great. So making sure that the shoulders are still down the spine. The arms spreading from fingertip to fingertip, knees stacking, feet active. Mind soft, face soft, breath soft. Bring the knees back up towards the sky.
Okay.
Yeah, come on.
And coming up to sitting. Coming into Paschimottanasana, forward bend. Inhaling the arms up, reaching towards the toes. Again, if you can't reach the toes comfortably, take a strap and put it around the balls of your feet. And in this pose, if you've got a couple of blankets handy or some cushions, give yourself some head support. So this is time for winding down, quietening the mind. Or if you're a little bit tighter in the hamstrings, you can use a chair. So still have the legs a little bit active. So the legs are still active, your base is still active, but the upper body is soft and the shoulders are moving down the spine. Forehead on the chair. And if you're at the other scale, forehead onto knees. Long, smooth and even breaths here. Quietening the mind. So Paschimottanasana, intense back stretch. It's great for quietening the mind, soothing the nervous system. It's a fantastic pose if you're finding you can't sleep. You just jump out of bed, come into this pose, particularly supported. It will help quieten the mind, soothe the nervous system. Couple more breaths here. Quietly inhaling, coming back up. And quietly rolling down through the spine, ready for Shavasana. You can take a folded blanket for underneath the head. Put on some warm clothes, make sure you're warm enough, have a blanket over top. Turn the lights down low. Focusing in on your breath now. Bring your awareness to your feet, relaxing your feet, the top of your feet, the soles of your feet, and all your toes, softening and relaxing. Relaxing your lower legs, your shin and calf, softening and relaxing. Your knees, softening and relaxing. Your thighs, softening and relaxing. Fronts of the thighs and backs of the thighs, inner and outer. Bring your awareness to your pelvis area, the area that we've really worked into today, and taking the time to completely soften, let go of any tension that's still being held there. Relaxing the hip joints, all the muscles around the hip joints, the pelvic floor, the buttocks, and the lower abdominal area. Relaxing all your reproductory organs and all your excretory organs. Bring your awareness up a little bit now to your abdominal area. Relaxing the abdominals, lower and middle back, all the organs there, large intestines, small intestines, stomach, liver, kidneys, pancreas, softening and relaxing. Bring your awareness to your rib cage, front of the rib cage, right and left softening, bottom and top, relaxing and letting go, softening the sternum. Awareness to the back of the rib cage, right and left side, top and bottom, softening and letting go. Relaxing your collarbones, shoulders softening and relaxing. Scapula sliding down the spine, any tension being held there melting down into the earth. Relaxing your arms, upper arms, front and back, elbows, front and back, lower arms, softening and relaxing. Your hands, palms, back of the hands, all your fingers, thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger, softening and relaxing. Relaxing the neck and throat, front and back. Relaxing the scalp, the skin on the forehead, eyes softening into the eye sockets, nose and cheeks softening, the right jaw softening, the left jaw softening. teeth staying strong. Back of the tongue moving to the back of the throat, but the tip of the tongue moving to the bottom palate. If the mind begins to wander, bring your awareness back to the space in between the thoughts. And when you're ready, bring yourself back up through the layers, inhaling your right arm up above your head, rolling over to your right side, quietly coming up to sitting into a comfortable cross-legged position, however that may be for you. Bring the hands to prayer position, taking a couple of breaths here. Bring the hands to the forehead for kind, peaceful thoughts to yourself and others. To the throat for kind, peaceful words to yourself and others, and to the heart for kind, peaceful, heartfelt actions to yourself and others. Namaste. Hi, thanks for joining us for this routine of Yoga and the Art of Aging. If you've really enjoyed this series, then you're going to absolutely love what our team's been cooking up recently. You can check it out at yogasync.tv. And Al, would you like to tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, we've literally filmed hundreds and hundreds of different yoga postures, and we've put them into a special web interface that we've constructed from the ground up that's going to allow you to drag and drop different movements into a timeline that's going to allow you to customise a practice to your own skill level, ability, energy for the day, time deadlines. So there's going to be no reason at all why you can't fit yoga into your day.
That's right, and the more yoga the better, we say.
Yeah, so we'd really like you to get over there and check it out. We're looking forward to seeing you over there.
Certainly are. Check it out. It is amazing.